That's an interesting question, only because, I've done a few interviews or whatever in my time, and no one ever asked me that. I might get in trouble for this, but I'm going to say it. Oh, wow, there's a bee trying to be on camera. Like, he was literally buzzing around the lens at first. Hi, my name is Kezia, and I am a Christian creative. I'm a spoken word artist, I'm a poet, writer, entrepreneur, and child and youth advocate, mental health advocate. Um, I'm a water nerd, digital media person. Um, Kind of a lot of things that kind of make up who I am. I'm a host, apparently. That's a thing now. Um, yeah, I'm a lot. Yeah, I kind of do a lot. I think I first realized when I was like 6 or 7 years old. Um, there was a lot kind of going on around me, like a lot in my little world, and just a lot in general. And it was like so much stuff was going on around me, but not like a lot of explanation or kind of understanding as to what was happening. And so, um, because I think I was always a shy kid, and I didn't talk much. Um, but I was always very interested, and I learned to read and write at a really early age, and so I was always very like interested in that. And I think my godmother gave me a journal, um, and I would read books all the time, like little kitty books and stuff. She gave me a journal, and I ended up writing like some thoughts and feelings down, and they just happened to rhyme, and it just made sense. It just made sense for it to rhyme because that's what we're supposed to do. And so I think that was my first poem, um, and that was my outlet from then on out. Always, that was my outlet, was writing down what I was thinking and feeling. And so I think that's really when it dawned on me, or when it happened for me personally, to recognize that I was a creative. I think in the Greek, creative means self-doubt. I think you can't help it. Like it's just a part of who you are, and it's not even so much as like growing up in an environment that's super encouraging or super discouraging. It's more, I feel like we're kind of hardwired for comparison, and so we see what other people are doing and see what other people are accomplishing, and many times that can be the drive for like what we feel like we should be doing or what we feel like we should be accomplishing. But everybody's working with a different set of resources, and a different type of access, and so it's easy to be like, this is crap, this is total trash. And something that we create or something that we write or something that we draw or record or whatever it is, it's like this is warm dumpster juice. But um such is not the case, and some stuff, yes, some stuff you create is going to be trash. It is. But that doesn't apply to everything, and a lot of everything takes practice. Art takes practice, creativity takes practice, finding your niche and finding what parts of it you're good at, because art is complex, it's not a simple thing. And so like finding what you're good at and all that, that takes practice, and that just kind of is what it is. But yeah, self-doubt. Yes. So I have a few spoken word albums out, and I think to date, I don't even know if you're, I don't know if you're supposed to like take creative license to choose the favorite thing that you created, but I'm gonna do it. Um, my favorite one is "Something to Say," which was my second album, and that came out back in some years ago. And I think I just poured so much of myself into it. I could tell just such a shift between the first album and the second one. A lot of growth, a lot of just ways that really inform like who I am now, even as a creative or as a person in general. That was definitely my favorite one for sure. Like people in general do, just kind of like the human experience, and kind of watching how different people navigate it. Um, and like we out here really doing the best we can. That kind of inspires me, along with two women. Dr. Toni Morrison, who unfortunately recently transitioned. Definitely Dr. Morrison, and my high school drama teacher, Mrs. Louise Bennett, who also transitioned a few years ago. She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, as far as like spoken word, or just being out there in general. And I feel like I learned from Dr. Morrison how to um, speak with courage, and speak with strength, and be unapologetic, because you know what your intent is with sharing whatever it is you're sharing, or writing whatever it is you're writing. And it might not be for everybody, but it is most definitely for somebody. So definitely my two biggest inspirations. And without Miss Bennett, there would be no Kezia the Poet. Like, there would be no Kezia the Poet. So for sure. If I could interview anybody, it would probably be maybe Kanye West. Only because, not because I agree with any of the shenanigans lately, but just to kind of understand his creative process from pre-college dropout to like where he is now. I know he's been through some stuff. I know he's experienced some stuff, and I know he's got interesting interesting perspectives and kind of viewpoints on things. But I'd like to interview him and maybe ask him. My question to him would be, how has your creative process changed from then until now? Like, what was different? What changed for you? Just to get some insight. Yeah. If I can't sleep with it, I can't. It's not done. Like, if I can't, like, I'm finishing up a new project, and I'm working on a couple poems, and they will not like let me rest. Like, if I work on it one particular day, and I'm like, okay, this is good progress, and I'm like, and I'll wake up the next morning and delete everything. Um, but I feel like writers can keep building on something, and something that maybe was supposed to be 1,000 words turned out to be 5,000 words, and you're like, how did I get here? Just because you keep just like building on it, but you can't though. You like, that's why I like try to make outlines of like poems. Like, what do I want to accomplish? What messages do I want to send? How long do I actually want this to be? That helps me rein it in, because I could just talk. I could just build on metaphors, and it's like, fam, this went from like a poem to like a one act play. Like, what's really going on? So yeah, it's, if I can rest with it, we're good to go. Yes. Um, it's weird. It doesn't happen often. Like, rarely at all, which is interesting. But I was in Detroit, Michigan, at there's a conference that happens every year called the Singers and Musicians Conference, and it's hosted by it was at Greater Emmanuel, which is Pastor Sheard, um, Pastor Sheard's church, and I did a spoken word piece before a panel of people, including like Dorinda Clark Cole and some other like key people in like gospel music. And what she said, it wasn't negative. It was constructive feedback. And she was like, because like everybody else was just like, that was amazing, that was really, really good. And I'm just my mind is blown right now because I'm even standing before you. So like, what? And she was like, I love what you did. She said, before us old people in the audience. I'm like, but you're not old. She said, mm-mm. For us old people in the audience. She said, I just need you to slow it down just a little bit. And that made me like mindful of just different audience members. That made me mindful of different people kind of process and hear things different ways. And so I can't say it like I'm talking to a room of 23-year-olds. I might be talking to a room of 123-year-olds. And so I have to like make the message available for everybody. And so, like I said, that wasn't really negative. It was just kind of feedback. But yeah, I'll tell you, like, I'll tell anybody else, yo, don't be out here trying to sound like somebody else. That's dead. Like, don't do that to yourself. That's a standard that you're, kind of subscribing to, and you're setting yourself up for disappointment that way. If anything, find your voice, own your voice. If it's spoken word, I know who's popular, but Jackie already sounds like Jackie. Genetics already sounds like Genetics. Joseph Solomon, Ezekiel, Preston, Chris Perry, everybody, they already sound like themselves. So you sounding like them isn't helping anybody. It's not getting your word out, and it's not getting the message out the way it's been designed for you to give out. So my biggest advice is don't try to sound like anybody else. You might have watched countless YouTube videos and watched how different spoken word artists deliver. Or if you're a painter, or if you're a photographer, videographer, whatever it is, there's a niche that is designed for you. And follow that. Like, don't be afraid. Like, that's part of the creative process. Creativity. If you sound like somebody else, then what are we doing? Like, your voice, your, art, your creativity is what people need, not a regurgitated version of someone else's. So, like, find your voice, own it. The self-doubt is going to come. It may never go away, but that doesn't mean stop creating. Like, find your voice, own your voice, do what you do. The best advice I've been given is be scared and do it anyway. Sometimes I think it's learning how to use your fear and anxiety as adrenaline and as fuel. They just are. Like, if you're an anxious person or whatever, if you don't, if you struggle with like your day to day as far as just general anxieties or specific things or pursuing things and stuff like that, be anxious, be scared, leverage it, and use it. That's another thing that takes practice. It's nothing that comes, just nothing that you just do. It's something that you learn to do. What your triggers are. What those kind of things that impact you maybe making a decision or impact you, taking the leap or making the next step. You know what those are. And so, and if you don't know what those are, learn what those are. And once you do, learn as you go and as you grow, learn how to leverage them and use them for your advantage. You can listen. You'd rather be anxious with some steady clients and be anxious with a room of 100 people waiting to hear what you have to say than just be anxious in your room by yourself. Like, create, like, do it. Even when you're anxious, even when you're scared, do it anyway. You'd be surprised what you can come up with. Anxiety don't stop nothing but you for a little bit. But then once you learn how to not let it stop you, not let it like freeze you, you know what I'm talking about. Like, not let it freeze you and go and push and do it. It took a long time for me to learn the answer to that. Like, what's the message in my in my art form or whatever. But for me, apparently, it's healing. I think I discovered years ago that while I was like on stage saying all these healing words and all this, I was being healed. And I think I was being prepared for some things that were coming down the pipeline. Like, you really don't know what's coming down the pipeline for you. You really don't. And so I think the Lord was preparing me for some things that would happen. And boy, did they happen, right? But I had something to kind of reach back to that the Lord was healing me and strengthening me in the process. And then, like, so yeah, this healing, that seems to be my thing. And I'm grateful to be, a vehicle for that. So hey, you can follow me on social media. On Instagram, it's at Hey There Kezia. On YouTube, just look up Kezia The Poet. Facebook, it's Kezia, Kezia. On iTunes, is it even called iTunes anymore? Apple Music. Title, apparently. I did a Google search on myself the other day, and I was like, oh, okay, it's places. All right. So Apple Music, Title, Spotify, Google Play, whatever your preferred platform. Just Kezia The Poet. And yeah. Also, come to Third Mondays at Busboys in Brookland. That's Northeast by Catholic University. Come to Third Mondays. I'm the host for the open mic. Like, what's really good. Also, I'm working on my 4th spoken word project. It's really something special. And Jay will know about it once the process is complete. Jay will know about it. What else? I have an organization called Always Remember the Kids. It's a child advocacy organization. And we do good stuff. And so you should follow us on Instagram. It's always RT Kids on Instagram. On Facebook, you can look up ARTK Network. We're trying to do some stuff, man, and really be something tangible for kids and youth. So yeah, I think that's it. Taking one day at a time. We're not even allotted like 24 hours at a time, because somebody that was here yesterday isn't here today. So we're not even necessarily allotted 24 hours at a time, but take it one day at a time. There's a difference between being determined and being way too hard on yourself. The grace that you give other people, the patience that you give other people, please leave some in the pot for yourself. One day at a time. That's all we got. One day at a time. It will take whatever it is, it will take the time that it takes. I wish I had better news for you. I wish I could rush it for you so you can, accomplishment hop, whatever that is. It will take the time that it takes. One day at a time. The world is cruel enough. Please go easy on yourself. Oh man, I just hit the mic.
It's okay. It's okay.
I know better than that. Like, okay. Basically.